Chase Burns was absolutely electric, and the Cincinnati Reds have an opportunity to sweep the Yankees. We're talking about it on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Stephen Offenbaker. That's Tim Daniel joining us from the postcast, filling in for the vacationing Jeff Carr. We all love baseball around here. We all love the Cincinnati Reds, and we love talking about Cincinnati Reds baseball with you. We have all been doing this podcast thing, talking about the Reds for a lot of years, and we're so glad that you have found us. If you're not an everydayer, click that subscribe button. Join us each and every day as we bring you all of the Reds content, either here on the Locked On Reds podcast or Tim's got you covered after each and every game with the postcast. On today's show, Chase Burns did a thing. Tim was there. We're going to talk all about it. He mowed down the first 5 guys he saw in his big league career and gave us a glimpse of why everybody is so excited about him. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. We're also going to dig into what the Reds' next big hurdle is, the next big thing they need to overcome to continue this postseason push, to continue to have an opportunity to be in the tournament at the end of the season. And a little bit later, we're going to get into the opportunity the Reds have before them today as they can go out and sweep the mighty New York Yankees with Brady Singer on the mound. We've got all of that for you on today's show that's brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Tim, welcome
Steve.
to the mothership. Welcome to the daily podcast. It must be nice for you to do this in the daylight.
It is. It really is. Especially because when they play during the week, if they have like a business day special, I'm still late to get to it. So like actually getting to do this at a rational time, it feels nice.
I bet it does. All right, let's dig into this. You were out at GABP last night.
Mm-hmm.
Chase Burns makes his debut. I had talked last week before the call-up news broke, basically that I really wanted the Reds to give him a little bit more time. I didn't want him to be rushed. And, Jeff and I had talked about that. To have him in the big leagues means something's pretty dramatically wrong. Of course, then Wade Miley goes down. Hunter Green's still out. Chase Petty can't. So really, Chase Burns was your only option. I will say this for him. He certainly made a notable first impression facing that New York Yankees lineup.
Yeah, to put it nicely. I'll say this. You and I have obviously been to a lot of games at GABP. I've been to a lot of amazing moments at GABP. I was at Clinchmas when Jay Bruce hit the walk-off. I was at Homer's no-hitter at the home stadium against the Giants in 2013. That was up there with them. That's certainly like the electricity, the atmosphere, everyone hanging on every pitch, just like the excitement around it. It was just unbelievable, man. Like I joked to my buddy when Aaron Judge came up. I was like, if he strikes Judge out, this place might actually like explode. And when Judge swings on that slider, like ahead of the slider at that, that play, that was like the loudest individual at bat I've heard probably since the Chapman days when Chapman used to get the last out of the game. It was something like, it was movie-like, as like the way I kind of described it on the postcast last night, where everyone just felt the vibes. And obviously it ended up being probably the best game of the year, even like just after Chase Burns goes out, the game's still extremely exciting. So against, obviously, the flagship franchise of Major League Baseball, to have a moment like that, have a crowd like that, have the Reds have a home field advantage, and Chase Burns just like set the tone with the night, man. Just nothing like it.
So first pitcher in the expansion era. So they looked back to the 60s to strike out the first 5 guys that he faced. His first 6 outs came via the strikeout, I believe. Mm-hmm. 8 Ks on the day. You look at the stat line and you're like, oh, he gave up 3 runs and the homer, it is what it is. The 3 runs, I question the outfield play there on that situation, diving for that ball. I think sometimes you just have to recognize you're not going to get it, and they could have at least prevented a run. But ultimately, I feel like his performance was really, really good. I like what we saw from him. He was hitting 100 out of the gate. I'm sure in his debut, the adrenaline was pumping. First inning, those strikeouts, he touched 100 on the radar gun multiple times. And I don't know how it looked live, but on TV, he was just absolutely dotting the ball in there.
You could hear the glove for sure. You could definitely hear the glove. And yes, I was in 138, so I'm like right next to the foul pole. So I'm seeing his back when he's delivering the pitch. But the delivery, Jeff did a great job describing it on yesterday's show, just kind of how his delivery is and how long term that's going to be really good for his body. And I think that you saw a lot of that last night. Just the way that he just commanded the game. And I was more impressed with the strikeout of Ben Rice than I was the strikeout of Trent Grisham or Aaron Judge, because he gets down 3-0. And young pitchers, we kind of see them get in that scenario. I mean, I just saw they talked about Mike Leake's debut. I remember it being extremely great. He had 7 walks that day. I did not remember that. But Burns like calms himself down, goes out there and gets him on 3 straight pitches. And just kind of seeing this dynamic. And I don't know how you are, Steve, on the Rhett Lauder, how excited you were last year for him. I was immensely excited. The fact that we like now have this situation where not only do you have those 2 guys, you have your already established guys like Abbott and Green to go along with them. It makes the Reds really scary, if we can kind of, which we'll get into in the second segment, I know. But what he's just able to do is just controlling the game. And even the 5th inning, I mean, I know he gives up the homer to Ben Rice in the 4th, and then the Friedel play, like you mentioned. 5th inning, Peraza gets to second base, 1 out, and he's not frazzled whatsoever. Goes out there and takes care of it. He moves up to third base on one of the outs and just takes care of business. It was extremely impressive. And one of the things you kind of didn't mention there that I want to touch base on that's really important: no walks. No walks.
That's, my favorite stats to look at for a quick picture is strikeouts per 9, walks per 9. I would take a 0 walks per 9.
Yeah.
As long as that can hold up, Tim.
And an 8K to BB ratio will play. It'll play.
Exactly. I do want to get into the rest of this game just a little bit, because as electric as Chase Burns was, as good as that start was, the Reds did go down 3-0. They did play come from behind baseball in this game, scoring 3 runs in that 7th inning to force extras. And then they did it again. They give up a run in the top of the 11th, and they come back and score 2 in the bottom of the 11th to get the walk-off win, courtesy of Gavin Lux. And these are the kind of games, we talk about this, Tim. These are the kind of games that can seize the momentum and can kind of propel a team forward. And for me, they kind of did that when they swept the Diamondbacks at home and then went off to Cleveland. They took a ride on the momentum wave. Right. And then obviously we're going to get into a little bit that St. Louis series derailed that a touch. But this is an opportunity to restart that motion, I feel like. As they sit right now, as you and I talk, they're 4.5 games back in the division, 2 games back in the wild card. By no means is this team out of either one of those races. There is still an opportunity to be in this thing. I love what I saw from a lot of guys last night. I love the way Elly De La Cruz is playing right now. 2 for 5 in last night's game. He did strike out a couple times. I don't care that his outs were via strikeout. Spencer Steer is finally the Spencer Steer that, I've been saying he was all along and was starting to worry a little bit about. 3 for 5 yesterday, Tim. His batting average is up to 242 for the people that care about that. He's almost got his on-base percentage back up over 300. He is definitely moving in the right direction. And then my guy, Matt McLain, who has played his way back into the 2 spot right now. His counting stats are still low because he started in such a horrible hole, right? But he is definitely a different guy now than he was a month ago.
Yeah, you didn't mention Tyler Stevenson had 3 walks last night. I mean, just the way that
I'm only counting homers. He didn't homer. He only gets my attention when he's pushing towards 40, man.
When they just find a way to just like make things difficult on pitchers. And I always say his name wrong, so if a Yankee fan watches the show, forgive me. But Loisiaga, I think is the reliever. The way that they just kind of got to him in the 7th, where he's been incredibly good in that situation all year. And, Christian Carrasco and Strand, who I'm kind of wondering what's the game plan with him at this point. And last night has one of the 2 biggest hits of the game, along with Gavin Lux's walk-off, of course. By the way, did you know Jose Trevino had that in him to score from first base on a ball in the corner?
He's probably still sucking oxygen, man. Yeah. I'm just as an aside, he's probably still on the O's.
If he was catching yesterday, he probably doesn't try to score, but since he was DHing, he probably had it in him. But Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like, and these are the two worst teams in baseball in extra innings this year. The Yankees were 1-5 in extras. The Reds were 1-6. So to see them kind of put this together, have this win, something had to give between the two teams. Tony Santillan, who I've been joking on the postcast, I don't know if he's going to have an arm come August, gets Aaron Judge to pop out at the bottom of the 10th. And you're like, all right, cool. Like they have to win now. They have to win now. And of course, Tito does Tito things, and the Santiago Epstein bat in the bottom of the 10th when he has Jake Fraley and Gavin Lux on the bench. Obviously, it worked out in the next inning, but they found a way to do it. They found a way to win. Connor Phillips was very scary, but really did a great job. Did a really good job bringing himself together after the wild pitch. Man, I don't know if I can let that Tigers win. I thought was the biggest one of the year, and then this certainly took advantage of that. This certainly took that spot.
Well, they have gone out and secured a series victory already against these New York Yankees. What's next for the Reds is consistency. It's going to be the key in them making a postseason push, and we're going to talk about that coming up next. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, and your spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you can also build wealth. You ever notice just how fast your spending can add up? It's very easy to just tap that bank card, right? With Monarch Money, you can see all of your spending. It really brings it in to focus, shows you what you're spending, how much you're spending, and how often you're spending to help you save money and achieve your goals. You can take control of your finances with Monarch Money right now. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Make sure you are subscribed. That way you don't miss any of the great Reds content we've got coming your way. Jeff and I here Monday through Friday on the Locked On Reds podcast. Tim joining us, filling in for Jeff right now. Tim's got you covered each and every Reds game. He is live after each of those games on the Reds postcast. Click subscribe so you don't miss any of it. All right, Tim, the Reds still do some of the most annoying things when it comes to being a fan of a professional sports team. You know, they go out and they beat teams like the Dodgers. They beat teams like the Phillies, the Braves. They go out and beat the New York Yankees. And then they lose to the Chicago White Sox and the Washington Nationals and you know, play up and up with the Marlins and, you know, make the Rockies look interesting. And it's Jekyll and Hyde. They play to the level of their competition. It drives me bonkers. They've always been that way, though. I think that's the next thing Tito's got to tackle. That's the next thing to fix with this team is consistent play, keeping them up in series where it's very easy to look at it on paper and say, oh, they're going to win this series. Oh, it's the White Sox. Oh, it's the Rockies. There's a 7-game stretch coming right before the All-Star break where they play the Marlins and the Rockies. The Reds have to win 5 of those 7 games, and they'll be well-positioned heading into the second half of the season. Consistency is key. I think Tito has come in and very slowly he has changed the culture. He has not eliminated all the errors on the field. We've even seen changes in the way Elly De La Cruz has approached the game this year that I don't think he would have done last year with David Bell in charge. For example, we all know Elly was nursing something in his legs, and it's why he hasn't been stealing as many bases. I think he would have still been trying to steal bases under David Bell. I think Tito had him reined in while his legs healed, and we're starting to see that change now. I think Tito can bring the consistency to this team, Tim. As frustrating as that Cardinals loss was over last weekend, they now come out, they regain the momentum. They've won a series against the Yankees. The powers that be, the national talking heads, all pay attention to things like that. Everybody's talking about the Reds right now because they're beating up on the Yankees, and ESPN can't help themselves. So now is an opportunity for the Reds to grab a hold of that momentum and move forward. They've got to win series, and they've got to do it against the teams that they're supposed to beat, as they're doing it against the teams that maybe they're not supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, you look at next Monday, the Boston Red Sox are kind of like a little bit of in a really bad sketchy state right now with the way they've been playing. No reason not going to Fenway Park and win 2 out of 3 next week. You go to the Philadelphia Phillies, who are fine. I still think are a very good baseball team, but have not been playing to the level we all thought they'd be. We thought they
Right.
were a potential National League favorite along with the Dodgers. Easy chance to get a nice couple wins over 4th of July weekend. These are the series you're talking about. And what we've gotten from this stretch, this really scary stretch we talked about between mid-May to now of like this teams that they play, all these teams above 500, they've really held their own. They've really played very well. There are 12 of the last 17 games they've won. But you're right. It's these little details. I think part of that's going to change as they get guys back. And I don't mean to be the wait till everyone's healthy guy. I know that's super easy to do. But obviously this team is better when Hunter Green, Noelvi Marte, and Austin Hayes are back. Shocking. Right. I know. And I do.
And also, let's give them credit too for not trying to shoehorn Jeimer Candelario back onto this roster.
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to talk about that yet, Tim, because just Jeff and my schedule, we've been separated this week. So I look at that move,
but it's not you, it's him, right?
It's him. Yeah. Yes. Good grief. At least it wasn't a Star Wars reference. I look at the Reds doing that. That's not typical of them. They've done that a few times where they've been willing to eat a contract, but this was a big bite that they had to take. This was a big dollar amount that they had to eat. And I give them credit for not shoehorning him back into the roster and still leaving space to get those guys back that you're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you look at, even I think in the David Bell era, I hate to say this because I know it's not 100% his call, but I think in the David Bell era, Garrett Hampson would probably still have a job on this team, wouldn't he? Even with those guys coming back.
He would be starting. David Bell always had his one infielder that it made no sense. I don't know if you remember, but one of my favorite memes to share on Twitter X was one I made, which was a picture of David Bell looking lovingly at somebody from the dugout. And I made it say, get yourself someone that looks at you the way David Bell looks at journeyman middle infielders.
I don't know, man. Tito's kind of getting there with Espinal of late. It's getting a little like, what are we doing here? But yeah, you're absolutely right. And what they did is just say like, no, Candelario is not going to help this team. The comments of the players who, Jake Fraley said like, look, we love Candy, but this kind of tells us that they're serious about this team. They're serious about winning now. And for us, I think we've just waited for that, right? Like, no, dropping Jeimer Candelario does not guarantee they're going to get a postseason spot. But the fact that they are finally thinking about 2020 didn't work out for us, big picture. It's time to move on and trying to see what we can put together. Last year's team, I think we all can agree, one-run games are different. We might be talking about a team going back to the playoffs, but counting this year as a potential. But also just the fact that they are now making the right personnel decisions. And don't get me wrong, Connor Joe still plays for the Cincinnati Reds. I don't think that'll be a much longer. I think especially because he does have options. Hopefully he already has his apartment in Louisville because that's coming. But yeah, man, I think that what they've just been able to do, I think that's going to add to that consistency, getting guys back, playing better heads-up baseball. Realistically, we're like maybe one bad Elly De La Cruz second base play last night from having a whole different conversation today. Thank God we don't have to have that conversation. But yeah, I do think that the baseball IQ has shown to be much higher. And I'm really happy with what Tito's really brought to the team, even if he's batting Santiago Espinal at the game on the line in the bottom of the 10th.
And the Connor Joe thing, Jeff and I hammered on that a lot when it was Hampson and Joe in the same lineup. And why are they on this roster?
I was with you.
And I can accept Connor Joe right now because I know the injury situation. He's just temporarily filling a spot. He can give you a little something every once in a while against a lefty. But you look at Connor Joe, and I can accept him much more being a placeholder on this roster now that they've called up Rhys Hines. What I couldn't accept was Garrett Hampson getting at bats and playing time in the outfield with Rhys Hines sitting at Louisville. I want to get more looks at Rhys Hines to see if there can be anything there at all, even if it's just him being a fourth or fifth outfielder. Much prefer running Rhys Hines out there and seeing if he can make it or not versus putting Garrett Hampson out there, who I already know can't make it. So I'm much more accepting now of having guys like Connor Joe fill places waiting for these injury dudes to come back.
And I think it's important too, not that I think it's going to happen in 2025, but, and this isn't just a Chase Birds thing, this is baseball all around. They're fast tracking guys, man. Like the way Hector Rodriguez is swinging in Chattanooga right now, Are we sure he's not going to be on the team next year? Like, I really have a hard time believing he won't at some point make an appearance for the Cincinnati Reds in 2026. Heck, he could do it this year the way he's swinging the bat if they're in a pinch. But I think, like you said, I think that's a great point. There's Connor Jones, there's Garrett Hampson, there's Reese Hines. Like, the Reds are finally trusting what they have, and they don't have a ton of front end talent in the minor league system right now. It's a lot of like wait for like a little bit. But seeing them be like, look, Chase Burns helps us win today, and we're going to roll with it, even if we are just in a pinch because Wade Miley's hurt. By the way, do you think Wade Miley ever makes a start for the Reds again?
It's interesting. I don't know if you were at the game, so you may not have heard this update from Jim Day.
I watched the broadcast back. Yeah.
Did you, the fact that Wade Miley thinks he could still come back and pitch. I don't see it. I think
it's hard.
I think maybe we've seen Wade Miley throw his last pitch, and I'm glad he got a couple decent starts. I'm glad he ended on a good note. If in fact he has thrown his last major league pitch. But look, there's another game tonight, Tim, and the Reds have an opportunity to go out and sweep the New York Yankees with Brady Singer on the mound. We're talking about that coming up next. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time that you meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in just 15 minutes. And the effects can last up to 36 hours. So you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked for you, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. Head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code LockedOnMLB to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnMLB and use the promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off today. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, you can listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. We are on all of them. If you find one we're not on, reach out to Jeff. He'll make it happen for you. We're on most of them already. Also, make sure you check out Locked On MLB Game Night. After each and every game wraps up, they watch every game so you don't have to, and they'll tell you all about it. That's the Locked On MLB Game Night. Find it in the Locked On MLB feed. All right, Tim, got a chance for a sweep. Can break out the brooms tonight. Brady Singer on the mound for your Cincinnati Reds, taking on a very, very good Max Fried tonight. This matchup, I don't know if it favors the Reds, but I'm looking. I need a good start out of Brady Singer. I'm looking for him to have a nice, solid rebound start, kind of get in there and piggyback off of what he did his last time out. His last 5 starts have not been horrible at all. You look at 7 innings, 5 innings, 5 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings, and in those, 2 earned runs, 3 earned runs, 2 earned runs, 1 earned run, 1 earned run. He's not horrible. He's a great number 3 guy in this rotation. Number 4 guy now. Once you get Hunter Green back, what a tremendous rotation that the Reds are kind of shaping things up to be. But looking at Brady Singer, I feel like he almost gets a Luke Weaver effect. Like, for whatever reason, when he goes, so does the lineup a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So sweeps are hard in baseball. It's why we make a big deal out of them when they happen. I'm calling it. The Reds are sweeping the Yankees today, Tim. They're going to do it. Brady Singer's going to come have himself a day. This Reds lineup is going to go. The Reds are going to sweep this series.
I hope you're right, man. You mentioned Brady Singer needs to have a big start. Look, we all love how heroic the bullpen's been of late. As our good friend Lance McAllister says, sometimes that bill comes due. So Brady Singer probably, if they can get a 6 1/3, 6 2/3 out of him, I think that is, or more, of course, that is status quo for tonight. Because, like you said, sweeping is hard. Sweeping against Max Fried, the Yankees' best pitcher this year, is hard. Right now, FanDuel has the Reds as the underdog at minus 1.5. Plus 1.5, sorry. And the run line is over 9.5. So I think that's a good under with the way that those guys have been pitching of late.
Mhm.
Granted, it was 5-4 last night, so yeah, right there. But yeah, man, I feel like this is kind of like you talked about the playing to the competition level. Am I as bold as you to say I'm willing to say they're going to win tonight? Probably not. Probably
I'm
not.
calling it, dude. Stop being scared. Lean into it.
Yeah, then everyone like calls us locked on homers, right? But I loved how they played. I'm happy they won the series. Yeah, if you sweep the Yankees, you at that point have a 6-game win streak against the Yankees because you swept them last year as well.
Yeah.
That doesn't suck, man. But for Singer, he likes those big at bats. He likes those moments against Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, all those guys. He likes to take care of business. So I'm excited to see what he does tonight. I really do feel like I'm with you. I feel like he's going to have a really good outing. I just really wonder how are the Reds going to get to Max Fried, because one, they've struggled against left-handed pitching throughout the year, obviously. Even last night, Carlos Rodon had a really good outing. And two, Max Fried is very, very good at throwing baseball.
If they do pull this off, Tim, they're going to be a season high 5 games over 500. And you hit on it just a little bit there in the last segment. When Jeff and I set up this segment of the schedule, this part, our ask was play 500 ball.
Yeah.
Be right around 500. If you had given me an over under of 3 games over 500 heading into that 7-game streak before the All-Star break where they get the Marlins and the Rockies, if you had given me a 3 games over 500, I would have taken the under. I would have not imagined that they would be in the position that they're in. Again, they've done it the most frustrating, crazy way that they possibly can with the series they win versus the series they don't. But they're performing better than the expectations that I think we set for them during this period. And this is just this opportunity to sweep the Yankees tonight is just another example of that they're playing really good at times and they are able to hang with the big boys now. So I look at this. I think they can go out and do it, Tim. Look, I locked on homers sometimes. Locked on optimism is what we are around here, Tim. I don't know what you're doing late at night after the game, but we're optimistic around here. And
anytime I say something negative in my chat, I say, go take that to Jeff and Steve show.
I love it. But I really feel like we see things from some of these young Reds players, maybe versus saying that it's just playing to the level of competition. They rise to the occasion, right? I think Elly De La Cruz really, really likes going out and beating
100%
Yankees and the Dodgers. And
Cubs.
It's kind of just a different Elly when they're playing the prime time guys, right? And I think that's the way Elly has seen this series. I'm looking for something big from him tonight, Tim. I'm looking for at least a long ball out of him. I'm looking for him to do something to kind of put the cherry on top with a sweep of the Yankees.
You convinced me. Elly De La Cruz tonight to hit a home run plus 470.
Take it.
Max Fried, left-handed pitcher. 3 of Elly's last 13 at bats against lefties have been homers. I'm putting the bet in right now. I'm putting it in.
There you go.
Right here, people.
There it is. And that is where we're going to wrap up this edition of the show. Thanks, as always, for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. Make sure you're back in the feed tonight, right after the game. Tim's going to be live, hopefully talking to you about that Cincinnati Reds sweep. And it's
reunion night tonight, Steve.
Reunited, and it feels so good because the one and only Ben Brown is going to be a special guest on your show tonight. Love Ben. I have fun each and every time I've had the opportunity to speak with him, and just watching you guys together, you can't help but have a big smile on your face every time Ben laughs. And I'm looking real forward to having him in the feed tonight as well. Make sure you're subscribed so you get that. You get all of Tim's shows, you get all of our shows, and you get anything extra we drop in along the way. We're going to keep gathering up the news, the reports, the rumors, the information, and we're going to bring them back right here to keep you locked on Reds every single day. Reunited and it feels so good.
Absolutely.